Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Force with some more Friday Night Magic today. I am a champion! I might be a champion, we'll find out. I'm playing the Halls of Champion deck. This is a tricolor Exalted deck. This opening hand is horrendous. I mean, there's a lot of great cards in here that I would like to have, but I've got a single land, so we cannot take that. And this isn't a ton better because we've got two Terramorphic Expanses, but as opposed to going down to 6, I guess the double Marshall Coupe are nice, and we've got a Sublime Angel. Let's keep this hand. We're gonna drop the Terramorphic Expanse and then pass it on over to our opponent. And I don't even know what I want to search for, because frankly, I don't know what I'm gonna draw next turn. So yes, it's a tricolor deck. Also running green and blue, besides the white that you see here in the plains, and the white from all of the cards that we have in our hand. I think really long and hard about this. I'm gonna dig for a land, but gosh, I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the butt. We're gonna grab a green. Green's probably the predominant color here in the deck, so I think it makes the most sense to do that. And he is discarding a card, so I'm assuming he's running the black graveyard deck. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, look at that thing. All right, we ended up drawing into another white. We're gonna play another Terramorphic Expanse. This one will search for blue since we already have the double white in our hands. This will let us Sublime Angel. So this is an Exalted deck. It's a tricolor Exalted deck. It's got some very interesting cards. We've got the Sublime Angel. It's 4/4/3 flying Exalted. Other creatures you control have Exalted. Very good. We've got the Gleam of Resistance. Pumps on my creatures, untap them as well. I can also basic land cycling in case I'm in desperate need of lands. And a Marshall Coupe. Marshall Coupe is interesting. There's a Reanimate, so he's gonna pull this creature from his graveyard, put it into play. Oh my god. It's a very bad start for us. All right, we're gonna Terramorphic Expanse down for blue. So he's got a 5/8 right now. It's also got Island Walk and Swamp Walk. Deals combat damage to player. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card, so any instant or sorcery from my graveyard, he can cast it for free when he hits me. Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, we do have this. And we will be playing it next turn when he attacks. The Bant Charm. Bant Charm, we get 3 things to choose from. Destroy an artifact, put a creature on the bottom of its owner's library, or counter target instant spell. Guess what we'll be choosing? We will be choosing to put his creature on the bottom of his library. Now let's see, if he does have a counter, it might have been a mistake to not do this on my turn. A lot of times you want to save the instance for an opponent's turn, but if he counters it, then all of a sudden, oh, okay, beautiful. So, cast the Bant Charm, creature goes on the bottom of his library, and all of a sudden, it's not quite as terrifying as it was a moment ago. 3/1 flying, he can discard a card, give his creature -2/-0 until end of turn. Any player may activate this ability. Okay, so I can discard a card to basically, I can discard a card to make it smaller, essentially. That's something I might end up doing. So we can Marshall Coupe for 1. Not gonna do that though. We can also just play the Sublime Angel, 4/3 Exalted, pumps up others. It's got flying there. Yeah, we'll play that. Why not? Why the heck not? And if necessary, so why is this, like, why would he play this? Well, because it's a 3/1 flying. Now again, I can unpower it by discarding a card if I so desire. We might end up doing that. I'm interested to see what he's got going on. So if he attacks, I'm gonna discard a card to power it down, block, and kill his creature. We'll see though. He chooses not to attack. All right, fantastic. That makes me happy, actually. All right. We're going to play another Plains. We can play Rocks the Warmender, so 3/4 with lifelink. It would have Exalted as well. Exalted's going to pump out my creature when I attack. I give my creatures +1/+2 until end of turn. This Exalted, though, is going to pump him up even further. Now, he's going to be big enough, though, to survive that attack. Because when he attacks, his Exalted pumps him up to a 5/4, so he would live through this attack. So I actually don't need to necessarily play anything pre-combat. So I'm actually just going to attack and see what happens here, see what he does. So when attack, Exalted pumps it up, becomes a 5/4. We can pump it up further if necessary, depending on what our opponent does here. Okay. So while we would have gotten more damage if we played the Rocks Warmonk, he might have also just stop that from happening by blocking it. I wanted to basically respond potentially to him doing damage to it with that extra 1 health that would have come from this. So he would have pumped it up 2 health. This would only given him 1 extra health. And we're gonna play the Rocks War Monk right now. And that'll be further, that will be further exalted, or no, that's the lifelink, what that has, so I'm sorry. For some reason, I did not that's lifelink, not exalted, so I don't know why I was talking about all of that, because that wouldn't have worked out the way I was talking about. This is just lifelink. He will probably be a creature that I am going to end up attacking with. Well, I might do it without exalted. We'll have to see, though. I'm very interested to see. He hasn't done anything. He's had those big plays earlier, but hasn't done much since then. He's going to cycle this. Okay, so he's just cycling it to get it in his graveyard. So we'll let him get a card. Alright. So we can get another Exalted in play. Can Marshal Coop to get a couple of creatures, which is going to make this Exalted even bigger, but the Exalted's not going to trigger unless I only attack with 1 creature. So maybe don't bother with that. Yeah, let's do this, and I'm going to attack just with the lifelink. So we're going to Marshal Coop. We're going to do it for 3. Why is this great? Because this creature gives all my creatures Exalted, right? So this means that all these guys have Exalted. So now when I attack with the lifelink guy, he's going to get pumped up for all of this Exalted. And even if he blocks, when he blocks, he's going to be blocking, because this is an 8/9, we're going to gain 8 life. So he's going to block. There goes this creature. And 8 damage is dealt, so we gain the 8 life. What is he? Is he doing something fancy here? He's pumping up the Una. Oh, he's using the Una's power to discard a creature from his hand, because he might end up playing a Living Death. We might actually end up seeing a Living Death come out of him. So he's using his power to discard his own creature spell to get it in his graveyard. Oh, this would be very interesting if he tosses a Living Death in play. Yeah, okay, so there go all of his creatures in his graveyard. Okay. So he's actually gonna win this game if he has a Living Death. Okay, come on. Why are you discarding your everything? Why'd you discard an island? He's discarding his entire hand. What is he doing? All but 1. But I don't understand why he would discard his, he might have something that, gosh, I don't even know. He discarded his lands. We're about to find out what's going on. He's playing a Windfall. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number discarded this way. Okay. So he did all of... What the hell? What was he hoping was gonna happen? I don't even... I have no idea. I don't know what he was hoping. I was anticipating a Living Death because of he was setting himself up with all these creatures in the graveyard, and I'm like, okay, so he's got a Living Death. Well, let's do this so we gain a lot. In case something funny happens, I don't know. We've got Fatal no matter what, so. There's the Exalted trigger. 10 damage to go through. Okay, all right, well, there's game number 1. Let's move on to a second. It was kind of strange. I mean, is anyone else, if someone can shed some light on the situation, there's obviously something I'm missing. Like, he obviously was, maybe he was just hoping that he was drawing into a Living Death, but that still doesn't explain him discarding his lands. What is up with me getting mana screwed here? The past 2 games in a row, my opening hands have been terrible. Oh my God. Well, no shortage of lands. Oh no, I wanted to play the Terramorphic Expanse. Misclick. Yuck, 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 yuck. That's awful. That's really bad. That might screw me up big time in the future. Oh, that's really bad, because right now I have no choice but to play my forest. I really needed to have dropped that Terramorphic Expanse last turn. Because this is gonna, these lands, they set me back a turn. So I want to play them early if possible, so I wanted to play it first turn. I've got a 3 damage to swing at his face this turn. So, I mean, we're feeling okay here, but still, this is ridiculous. We've got a Pariah. All damage would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. There's a whole bunch of fun combos that you can set up with that. We could actually stop him from blocking, potentially. Whatever, I don't care. If he throws away his creature, that's fine by me. We're going to drop the we need to get the Terramorphic Expanse down in place so that we can play him next turn. Okay, so we're going to attack now. It's a 2/2, but it's got Exalted, so it's going to pump it up for +1/+1. So if you didn't glean this information from the last matchup, if you don't know what Exalted is, basically when a creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 for every permanent with Exalted that's in play. So, and not just creatures, because there are non-creatures that have Exalted that you can run too. So that's how that whole system works. So basically, I attack with one creature a turn because he gets pumped up for all the Exalted creatures, and then you use that in conjunction with something like Flying that's going to bypass his creatures, something that's unblockable. You use that in conjunction with something with Lifelink, like you saw last game. There's a whole bunch of different combos you can throw out. All right, so we're going to drop our 4th land right now, which is going to be the island. And we've got a couple choices here. We can play this guy. He's 2/2 Exalted. Destroy creatures that dealt damage to you this turn. He's really good. You could also play the 3/3 Exalted with Trample. Why don't we play this guy? I'm going to get him in play as soon as possible. The Exalted works across the board, so it's going to pump up my guy when he attacks. So this is going to be a swing for 4 damage now. Unless my opponent has Bounce to return the creature to my hand, we're bringing him down to 13 here. And then now that this guy's in play, once he is unaffected by Summoning Sickness, so creatures that come into play in Magic, they can't activate their tap abilities or attack that turn. They can use activated abilities, which are ones that you might have to tap mana for, or tap a permanent for, or something like that. Right, he's going to do this. Comes to the battlefield, target opponent discards a card. I think we'll actually be discarding the Terramorphic Expanse, because everything else I absolutely want to hold on to. So we're going to discard the Expanse there. And now in upcoming turns, when a creature does damage to us, we can destroy it by tapping this creature. We can't do it right now. We don't have that capability. We're going to let this 2 go through. There's no reason for me not to. I could Bant Charm to put his creature on the bottom of his library. Could play another Pride Mage. Now we're gonna get the guy with Trample. Well, if we Bant Charm, it's probably not worth it right now. Let's get the creature with Charge in play. Pre-combat. I know he's just gonna chump block anyways. It doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna attack right now. This will be a swing for 5. He's going to block it with his 1/1, though. Now, this upcoming turn, we're going to have an Exalted Creature with Trample, which will be this guy. Trample means that the damage beyond the health of the creature blocking your creature goes through to the opponent. So this is going to be, like, guaranteed damage to push through. And now we have got a blocker. We've got this so that if he does damage to us, we can destroy his creature. We've got a lot of stuff. However, he has got a ton of mana right now. He's playing blue-black, control, removal. There's all sorts of things he could throw at me that can make this terrifying. So let's see. Beacon of Unrest. Let's take a look at this. Put target artifact or creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield. Gets the Ravenous Rats back to his hand. Forces me to discard a card. Let us discard... This would give me more Exalted to push some extra damage through coming up. The Pariah is really nice. But... In this situation, I actually want to get rid of Pariah. I don't have a good target for Pariah. I don't have a good creature I want to throw it on. I'd rather have the Exalted, and I'd rather have the Bant Charm, just because there's so much utility with Bant Charm, and it can be used. Now, in a good position right now is this guy. He's going to be huge, Exalted, and Trample. So when he attacks for next turn, damage is going through no matter what, even if he chooses to block. We're going to have damage go through. Question is, do I want Lifelink right now, or do I want another Exalted? Let's go with another Exalted. Push some extra damage through here with our Trample when we attack. So here's the swing. He is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Six, 7. I hate that they trigger like that, but it just takes so long to watch each of those things resolve. So he blocks with 1, 6 goes through. He's now down to 7. All right. Okay. He pops asleep. Tap all creatures target player controls. Those creatures don't untap during that player's next untap step. See, they're tapped now, so they can't block. Next phase, I don't untap them. The phase after, I untap them. This game is far from over. Really, anything can happen. Holding on to the Bant Charm for creature removal. I'm not super worried about that 2/2. We're going to probably play the Rock's War Monk next turn. We'll see what we draw into. Okay. So here comes the War Monk. Yep, it's going to give us a blocking creature. It's going to give us lifelink as well. And then we pass the turn. The only thing I'm concerned about potentially is having overextended there. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on it. That's fine, I've got blocking for that. And we're gonna Bant Charm that. We're gonna hit him for a lot next turn. So we're gonna Bant Charm this, dropping this to the bottom of his library. Choosing that out of the 3 options. Double Bant Charm, hilarious. The damage will still be blocked. But then it'll be trample, so I'm gonna do that prior to him declaring blockers. Bottom of his library, his 6/5. Yes, so good. All right, so then we've got the 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 damage going through. He obviously has to block that, otherwise he's dead, unless he just is choosing to forfeit the game. So he blocks that, and then 5 damage goes through. Oh, I guess he chose to forfeit the game knowing he probably lost anyways. Okay, so game number 2 is a win. Move to a 3rd. And our 3rd and final game today is against Eagle Karate Chop. That's an interesting name. Karate Chop Eagle. Okay, let's see here. Ooh, gosh. Sure. Sure, let me keep this with 3 Squires in the opening hand and an Aven Squire. Talk about Exalted. Not much of my utility cards, but talk about them exalted creatures, huh? So we've got 3 of the Akrasan Squires. We've got a single Aven Squire. And a lot of creatures with Exalted about to hit the board. Start off with our 1/1. And then next turn, could play the Aven Squire, or we could play the Terramorphic Expanse and just do an Akrasan Squire in play. And I think that's probably going to be our move. Look at this guy. Good, good, good. Okay, so instead of the Aven Squire right now, we're going to drop this in play. We're going to play our this Squire pre-combat. So this is going to allow us to swing for 2. We go into the combat phase here. And it's a 3/3 now. So because he gets 1, he pumps up himself for 2, and then there's the 3rd damage from this guy with Exalted. We're searching for a blue, so we could potentially play Rafik. We've got no reason for double white right now. I mean, we could double white to drop both of these and play next turn, but actually, do I want to do that? Because I could get a lot of damage through here. Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that. I'm actually, instead of going for a blue, I'm gonna get a second white here. Because this way, this turn, I can put 2 more Exalted creatures in play. Now, I know I want the blue for Rafik, but what if I don't get a 4th land anyways? Okay, that's ridiculous. Of course I drew into, well, I only drew into a Plains because I shuffled my deck anyways, so I guess who knows what would have happened, but because when you Terramorphic Expanse, after you search for a land, your deck is shuffled, so the top card of my library prior to doing that wasn't necessarily a Plains. It just ended up working out that way for me, unfortunately. But anyways, we're gonna have a big swing this turn. There's the trigger for 5, bringing him down to 12. All right. So we can't Rafik next turn because we didn't search for a blue. I did that all because I wanted to set up this big turn. Let's see if this bites us in the butt here. What is he playing this turn? He's gonna do this. Okay. So reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, put a 1/1 into play. If it's a land, put that card on the battlefield. If it's a non-creature, non-land, you gain 2 life. So we got a 1/1 in play. Unfortunately for him, that doesn't matter. Because we are about to swing him in the air for a bunch. We've got another creature with Exalted in play now. So we swing with our 1. It's just swinging with him because he's got flying. That's going to bypass the blocker that he has. And there's 6, bringing him down to 6 health. All right. Can't play the Rafik, can't play the Bant Charm. We need that island draw desperately. There's the card that he drew into. We knew that was coming. It's a Metalcraft card. He's not triggering Metalcraft. He needs 3 artifacts in play. He's going to trigger this card, reveal the top card of his library. It's a land. He gets it in play. That's a good card. That's Satchel. Pretty good. All right. We have another Exalted drop. This allows us to swing right now for 7. And unless he's got removal for this, that is the victory. Yeah, 7 in the air with Exalted. His response is nothing, so that is the game. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap things up by taking a look at the deck list here for Hall of Champions, the Exalted Tricolor deck. So here's our mana split. We've got 9, 4, and 7. Blue is just a splash. The primary colors in the deck are white and green. Terramorphic Expanses to help alleviate the fact that this is a tricolor deck. And now it's time for the cards. We've got 4 of the Squires here, the 1/1 Exalted. You saw those come into great effect in the last game. A couple of these Pride Mages, they've got Exalted. You can also sacrifice them to destroy artifact or enchantments, make some nice utility cards. Even Squire for a flying Exalted. The Martial Coup, very cool card. You can drop creatures onto the battlefield. It's X plus 2 white, and if that X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. So really good if you push into the late game and your opponent has some huge threats that you want to get rid of. Drop that bad boy in play. We've got the Guiltspire Avenger, 2/2 Exalted, that you can use to destroy creatures that have dealt damage to you. The Rox War Monk, 4 of these. Why? Because it's got lifelink, and it's a nice hardy creature in a 3/4. The Court Archers, it's a 1/3, Reach and Exalted. Reach lets it block creatures with flying, and the Exalted obviously synergizing with the rest of our deck. The Pariah to move damage that would be dealt to me to one of my creatures instead. We've got the Bant Charm, just super utility, destroy artifact, put a creature in the bottom library, or counter an instant spell. Rafik of the Many, you didn't get to actually see this played, but you did see it in my hand. 3/3 Exalted. Also, whenever a creature attacks alone, which is happening a lot in an Exalted deck, it gains double strike, which means basically it does combat damage 2 times, first with first strike and then regular combat damage. So it doubles the damage of a creature you are attacking with. The Sublime Archangel, giving all of my other creatures Exalted. So that means creatures, yeah, it's is very good. It's got flying and Exalted by itself. The Restoration Angel, flash and flying. So this is a neat card. Flash means you can play it as an instant, so you can play it anytime. You don't have to play it on your turn like you do most creatures. It's a 3/4 flying, okay. When it comes to the battlefield, I exile a non-angel creature I control and then return it to the battlefield under your control. Well, that seems silly. How it's used is if someone targets one of your creatures, you're able to basically remove them from play. The spell that was targeting your creature fizzles, and then the card comes back into play. So it's basically you remove your creature from existence to protect it, and then it immediately comes right back into play. The Rox Charger, 3/3 Trample Exalted. Finest Hour Exalted. Whenever a creature attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase, untap that creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. It lets you attack twice when you attack with a single creature. Plus, it's also a permanent that has Exalted. And then lastly, we've got the Gleam of Resistance. Pump up your creatures and untap them, or you can basic land cycle it if you're mana screwed and need a certain mana. That is it, guys. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Friday Night Magic. Pretty good games. Those were really, those were some really good games. Pretty neat deck. I like it. I like this build as well. Thanks again, guys. Tune in next Friday for another episode. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.